お父さん、お祈りお願いします。
今からジムに行きます。みんなと一緒にいい汗を流したいと思っています。みんなについていけるよう頑張りたいと思ってます。主イエスキリスト見守ってください。アーメン。
アメン。
Will the Roth rollover, will that whole amount count as a contribution, or will only the amount that I put into the Roth TSP account be available to me? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, so did you do a conversion, or is it coming out of a Roth TSP?
So I did two things. I did Roth TSP into Roth IRA, and I did the traditional TSP into a traditional IRA. Then I converted that traditional IRA money into my Roth account, the traditional Roth account. So
Yeah.
It's two different things.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll tell you my feeling on it. But it gets a little tricky, and I can understand why you guys are wondering about it. I think at the end of the day, you do need to get a CPA to weigh in on it to make sure you're doing this right. My understanding is that, given what have going on here, that if it's a new IRA, even with old money going in that's already met the 5 years, that you still have to wait the 5 years before you can get that money out. So that the 5-year rule would apply to the Roth IRA on the money as it comes in, even if it had been in the Roth 401k or TSP, for 5 years prior to the rollover or the conversion.
Right. So in my situation, the Roth IRA that it all ended up landing in, this is an account that I've had since 2010.
Oh, okay.
So does that change anything as far as that goes?
It does, yeah. So again, I would double check on this and get a CPA to weigh in. But yeah, so you're saying the Roth has been open for at least 5 years, and the Roth TSP was open for at least 5 years. And so in that case, then I think you would have satisfied it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what we think. And then the final piece of it is the money that I put into the Roth TSP, my contributions, then there's the gains. So all of that gains and contributions went into a rollover Roth, IRA. The money that I put in, my contributions, I should have access to at any time because of the 5-year rule. What
I
about
believe
the
that's
gains that I rolled over?
Yeah, as long as that account had been open for 5 years, you should be able to access those gains as long as you're at least 59 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not being 59 and a half, it's going to be the gains are not going to be eligible. I'm going to have to basically earmark those gains in that Roth IRA to make sure I don't find myself subject to penalties.
That's right. You would want to make sure you only pull out original contributions.
Okay, perfect. That's what we were thinking.
Yeah, but again, I'd always run this by your CPA before you do it, but I think you guys are on the right track with the way you're thinking about this. Hey, Jonathan, thanks for your service to our country. We're grateful.
Hey, grateful for what you do. Have a good one.
All right, take care. 800-525-7000 is the number to call. We've got a few lines open today. We'd love to hear from you with your financial questions. To Texas we go. Hi, Deborah. Go ahead.
Good morning. I have a question about debt and about whether or not I should take money out of my pension, my investment account. I'm 69 years old. I've been retired about 5 years, and I've just run up about $16,000 worth of credit card debt. My question is, I have a debt that I'm fixing to pay off. I owe one more payment on it, and I'm fixing to pay, well, it's $1,000 a month debt that I'm fixing to pay off. So when I pay off that debt, should I just take that money and apply it to the rest of my debt? Or should I just take the money out of my investment account, pay it off, and just be done with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I can understand why you're thinking through this. Let me just ask a few questions. Is it one credit card or multiple credit cards that the $16,000 is on?
Cards, but one of the cards I've used for like major things, like, you know, the air conditioning goes out and I have to have it repaired. Everything I've done on the big credit card has been major things, you know, like I need tires for the car. Well, that's $900. That's what is on the major credit card.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I ask is I would love for you to consider putting this in a debt management program where we can drop the interest rate and then you can shift that $1,000 a month over, get this knocked out, you know, here in, you know, the next, you know, year and a half, and save some interest along the way. The only challenge is, in order to do that, the account's going to have to be closed. And if this is an account you use regularly, are you willing to do that?
You know what? I'm so bad with money. I did that 20 years ago. I had gotten about 5 credit cards, and I probably owed $10,000 in debt. And I actually did a consolidation thing back then. And before I would do that, I would rather take the money out of my investment account, which is just going to hurt me down the road, you know, because that's what I'm living off of. They give me a monthly, you know, payment.
Well, yeah, so just to be clear, I'm not talking about a consolidation loan. I don't recommend that because often, even though the interest rates come down, we get a longer payback period and we don't solve the problem that led to the debt in the first place, which is typically overspending. So debt management's different. We leave the debt right where it is. We just get the pre-negotiated lower interest rates. If you go through a nonprofit credit counseling agency, we use ChristianCreditCounselors.org. They've worked with hundreds and hundreds of our listeners. So essentially, you'd make that same monthly payment. You could send the full $1,000. You don't have to pay the minimum, but you'd have a lower interest rate, and that would help you pay it off quicker and save money. But the account does need to be closed, so it couldn't be used for new purchases moving forward, even though we're not paying it off with a consolidation loan. I'd rather you do that and preserve the money you have in the pension, just because the market's down right now. I'd love to, you know, for that to be able to recover, you not to have not only that money unavailable for the recovery, but also you'd have added taxes as you pull that money out. So that's where my preference would be to use a credit counseling program and shift the $1,000 a month to pay that off at a lower interest rate. But again, you've got to be comfortable with closing that account.
You know, it scares me to death because I only have like 2 credit cards, like a MasterCard and a Visa. So it's not like I have, I don't have a big balance of money in the bank to where if I had if my heater went out and I need $1,200, you know. Yeah. Okay. I don't know, that kind of...
so the other option would be to leave it there and let's just pay it off, you know, over time, right out of that existing account, leaving it open at the higher rate and using the $1,000 a month. But I'd probably try to avoid using the pension if it were me. We'll be right back. Stay with. Our thanks to Certified Kingdom Advisor Wade Chessman, President and Wealth Advisor, and his team at Chessman Wealth Strategies in Dallas for their support of faith and finance. Their goal is to help their clients expand their understanding of biblical financial principles and how to implement them. The website is chessmanwealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Hi, this is Pastor Robert Morris. I'm often asked, how do I grow in my relationship with the Lord? How do I hear God? What is God's plan and purpose for me? I want to personally invite you to join me on Sunday mornings right here on AFR for worship and the Word. And we will discover the answer to these questions together. We'll explore the truths found in God's Word that will help you strengthen your faith and develop a more intimate relationship with Him.
What's most important to you when it comes to choosing your financial advisor? Someone who's aligned with your biblical values? How about someone who will take the time to explain your options? Certified Kingdom Advisors are professionals who meet high standards in competence and integrity and have been trained to offer biblical financial advice. To find a Certified Kingdom an advisor in your area, visit faithfi.com and click Find a CKA.
We are grateful for support from Sound Mind Investing in the Faith and Finance program. For more than 30 years, they've been helping Christians reach their financial goals with step-by-step guidance for investors at every stage, from those just getting started to those getting ready for retirement. Through scriptural principles and practical suggestions, SMI offers financial wisdom for living well. More information, including the short video webinar on profit and peace of mind, no matter what's happening in the market, is available at soundmindinvesting.org.
So great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. It's Friday, which means Jerry Boyer stops by. A lot to talk about today with the jobs report out. But before we go to Jerry, Chuck's waiting patiently in Texas. Chuck, how can I serve you?
Yeah, Rob, I'm retired just recently, and I was wanting to set up some type of fund or a trust, like a donor fund, where I could just put a fairly large amount of money in a fund and be able to, you know, contribute it to ministries. And what would you recommend on that?
Yeah, I like that a lot, Chuck. Let me ask you, where is the funds today that you would be using? Are they in an IRA, or are they after-tax dollars in a savings account?
Well, I have some annuities that have, all of them are pretty much matured out past the date where, you know, you get...
Yes, sir.
But anyway, and some
Go ahead.
Others were in, well, they're in different accounts. I have savings accounts. I have, don't have that much IRA because I was you know, I'm on business. And
okay,
I was
very good.
For 42 years, sold it. And anyway, I just wanted to put, you understand what I'm wanting to do?
I sure do, absolutely. So, a couple of things. With the annuity, if that's a qualified annuity, so that money went in pre-tax, you could roll that out to an IRA, and then you could do what's called qualified charitable distributions. So that would be a way of getting that money out of the now IRA, what is today the annuity, without paying any tax on it, and it would go straight from the IRA. As long as you're over 70 and a half, or when you're over 70 and a half, it goes straight from the IRA to the charity or ministry or your church, and you don't recognize it as income, and they get the full amount. And when you have a required minimum down the road, it would satisfy that as well. So that's one option. With the rest of the money, to your point about where can I contribute it and then give it away over time, you're describing my favorite tool for giving, and that's the Donor Advised Fund, where essentially think of this as a charitable checking account, Chuck. You can donate cash to it, you can donate appreciated stock, you can even donate real estate, whatever you have, into the Donor Advised Fund. I'd use the National Christian Foundation, ncfgiving.com. They call it a giving fund. And once it goes in there, you get the deduction because you've given it away, and then you recommend the grants out of that with the click of a button on their website to whatever, you know, ministry or charity you want. And then they will initiate that giving. So it's just a really effective tool. You'd get the current year deduction, which allows you to bunch the giving in 1 year to get up to where you can itemize the contribution. And then you give it away at your discretion. You could do it all right away, or you could do it over time. And it just becomes a really effective tool. And you also have the ability to give in your name, or even anonymously if you wanted to, as you recommend the grants out of the DAF. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You said when it comes out of the annuities into a quality, what'd you say?
Yes, let me back up. So the Donor Advised Fund would be great for the cash or any stocks that's after-tax money. But for the annuity, if that money went in pre-tax, what's called a qualified annuity, and you're able to pull it out without surrender charges because it's been in there a while, first thing I do is roll it to an IRA, an individual retirement account. Now, once it's in the IRA, you have the ability to do what's called a qualified charitable distribution once you reach age 70 and a half. And that's essentially a distribution from the IRA that's not taxable because it doesn't come to you, it goes straight to the ministry.
Right. Qualified charity.
Qualified Charitable Distribution, QCD, Qualified Charitable Distribution. But with the rest of the money that you're looking to give away, I just drop it into a donor advised fund, what's called a giving fund at the National Christian Foundation, and then you would then grant it out or make recommendations as to where it gets granted at whatever point you want moving forward.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Try to jot those planks down really quick.
Yeah. So, yes, no problem. So just to recap, and this is great. I love what you're trying to do here, Chuck. You're rolling the annuity to an IRA, and when you're ready, you're going to do a qualified charitable distribution. You'll just call your custodian and let them know you want to do that, whoever is housing or the custody, the custodian for the IRA. They'll give you the paperwork to do the qualified charitable distribution. And then go set up the giving fund at ncfgiving.com, and then you can make contributions to that. And then whenever you're ready, you recommend the grants out. Hey, God bless you, my friend. Thanks for being on the program today. We appreciate it. If we can help further along the way, let us know. All right, it's time. Jerry Boyer's here. It's Friday, and there's a lot going on in the markets, namely around payrolls and the jobs market. Jerry, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
All right, here we go. The upside down economy. We blew it out on payrolls, and the market's selling off.
Exactly, there it is, the upside down economy. These are the Wall Street Journal headline: hiring surge keeps open for Fed to increase rates. So what does that mean? That's how good news becomes bad news in the upside down economy, or the bizarro world of Keynesian, essentially atheist economics. Is, oh no, we're doing all this hiring. That, you know, businesses are expanding and they're hiring people and they need workers, and those workers are getting raises, and that's bad because that'll cause inflation, I think. So what's going to do? So we were thinking the Fed might be able to start cutting rates in May. That's what the market thought. The market had a basic idea in mind, and the idea was we're probably going to have a recession, and the Fed's probably going to cut rates to get us out of that recession. This jobs report made the market think, maybe we're not going to have a recession, and therefore maybe the Fed won't be cutting rates. And by the way, raising rates and cutting rates, all that means is contracting the money supply or expanding the money supply. So, you know, with the job market strong, it's more likely the Fed's going to contract the money supply because they think that they have to fight this job surge in order to fight inflation. And that's why good news in the jobs market becomes bad news in the financial markets, because the Fed's way of thinking, and remember, the Fed is the biggest actor by far now. Historically, it hasn't been. You know, historically, the Fed's been, just a small part of the economy and the markets. But basically, starting in 2008, with the TARP and the QE and the Operation Twist and a whole bunch of acronyms, and then later with the COVID shutdowns, it became gigantic. And so it's now the biggest investor. So if the Fed's selling, markets think, all right, that's bad, we want to get out. If the Fed's buying, markets think, that's good. This is basically saying the Fed's selling and taking money out of the market, and it's going to destroy that money and contract the money supply to try to slow down the economy. So of course, that means that a recession becomes more likely because it's slowing down the economy. And it's hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of because it's complicated in some ways, but it's mostly hard to keep track of because it doesn't make sense. And I know I've met a lot of people over the years. If I give a speech to a general audience, I don't understand economics. I'm worried about this. It's like, no, I think a lot of the reason you don't understand economics is because in college, the economics they taught you doesn't make sense. The problem isn't you. The problem is the economics. The economy overspeed, etc. That's the economic model that dominates the Ivy League universities. And that's what every Fed chairman or chairwoman has gone through, and that's what they believe, and that's why markets are reacting the way they do, because they know how the Fed is likely to react.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Jerry. We can have mission drift in organizations. We can have mission drift as a nation, too. I was with Peter Greer this week, the author of the about the 1692, the motto adopted by Harvard University, truth for the church and Christ. You won't find that motto today, even though it was in place for 200 years. It's a far cry from where it was when it was founded. And you could say that to be true about our economy and our founders and their original intent, right?
Well, and they're related because Harvard University taught classical economics. John Harvard was a Christian minister, a Puritan minister. He believed in the Puritan, you would call the Christian work ethic. And that's what built the United States, was that work ethic. And so in early America, the idea was that you get saved, you believe in Jesus, you're not saved by your good works, but you go out and do good works. And those good works are not just church good works. They're farming good works, and their commerce good works, and their invention good works, and their energy good works. And when Harvard abandoned the faith, it was not long after that Harvard abandoned the classical economic focus on productivity that was based on that faith, on that mandate in the beginning to fill the earth and subdue it. So first Harvard went from Christianity to Unitarianism, and then it went from classical economics to Keynesianism. And now and it's not just Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, they've all made this transition. And so it's mission drift. In some sense it is, I would put it this way, once you have a worldview which is distorted from reality, you're going to have a lot of failures. And then you try to fix those failures. And mission drift often occurs when organizations are making mistakes because they've abandoned the faith, and they keep expanding their mission to keep trying to undo the effects of the mistakes they've made rather than going back to the foundation in the first place.
Well said, Jerry. Well, I'm grateful that you haven't had any mission drift along the way, my friend. And we appreciate you stopping by today.
Appreciate you too. God bless.
All right, that's Jerry Bowyer. He's our resident economist. He joins us each Friday with his updates on corporate engagement and the economy. Today we've been focused on the economy. Jerry reminding us of a biblical worldview. Hey, on behalf of my team today, Brent Creeley, Devin Patrick, and Jim Henry, I'm Rob West. This has been Faith and Finance on American Family Radio. You have a great weekend. Come back and join us on Monday. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG Greenville, Dallas.
Fed up with the trash our children are exposed to, such as TV shows, movies, and music?
I've had it up to here. Absolutely. It breaks my heart.
1 Million Moms is a community of moms who are successfully standing against the evils of the entertainment media.
Can I really make a difference?
You can. Visit runmillionmoms.com.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Endorsement in the race for Speaker of the House.
Former President Trump has endorsed House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan to be the next Speaker. Posting on social media, he's strong on crime, the borders, the military, and the Second Amendment. Representative Jordan earlier telling Fox's Hannity,
someone's got to be able to come forward, unite the Republicans around our message, around what we're doing for the American people, and go take that message to the country and deliver it in a compelling, succinct way, which I think I can do.
The House is expected to vote on a replacement for ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy next week. Jack Callahan, Fox News.
Former New Jersey Governor and 2024 Republican presidential hopeful Chris Christie holding a town hall in New Hampshire Thursday. The former governor says he promises to help provide more support at the U.S. southern border and the country's immigration system.
We need to triple the number of immigration judges we have so that it doesn't take 4 years for someone to get an asylum determination. We need to add 10,000 Customs and Border Patrol officers to be able to make sure we apprehend people efficiently.
The White House is set to build up to 20 miles of wall at the southern border. This coming after President Biden made a campaign promise saying that construction on the wall would not continue if he took office.
A border wall, money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. But they didn't, they wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what it was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
They say they don't believe in walls. That's still their policy. Well, then call the Secret Service tomorrow and tell them to take down the fence and the walls around the White House. I don't think they'll have any of that because walls do work. Fences do work. Buoys on the water do work.
Meanwhile, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey announcing she will send 275 National Guard troops to the southern border. Sue Guzman reports.
Saying every state has become a border state, Governor Kay Ivey says she's sending the members of the Alabama National Guard to protect the southern border. The announcement comes as Ivey and 24 other governors have written a letter to President Biden calling on him to provide honest, accurate, and detailed information about the migrant crisis. A letter saying many states are at a breaking point, working round the clock responding to the migrant surge, adding that shelters are full, food pantries empty, law enforcement strained, and aid workers exhausted. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
The FBI has created a new category of criminal they intend to go after: Trump supporters. Steve Jordahl has more.
Since the January 6th Capitol riot, the FBI has been talking about a dramatic increase in domestic terrorism, to the point where it created a new category of activity that can monitor and prosecute anti-government, anti-authority violent extremism. To be sure, the violent part is not new. Victoria Bauer of American Values says this is the first time the U.S. government has considered Americans' belief systems a threat.
There are people in important and powerful positions in our government that are using the laws and protections that we gave them over the year to protect us from foreign enemies. They're using those laws and those institutions to protect themselves against us.
Read that protect themselves from Trump supporters. Sources within the FBI tell Newsweek magazine that nearly 2/3 of the FBI's current investigations are focused on people who backed the former president, and most of those are January 6th related. But he says those numbers have to be trusted.
So every time the FBI arrests one of what is now over 1,000 people that are being prosecuted, each of those arrests for statistics as a separate domestic terror event.
Bauer says there has been an increase in violence in recent years, but it can hardly be pinned on Trump supporters.
The violence that is occurring is all coming from what is broadly defined as the left. The most violent places in America are nowhere where Trump won the election.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
American Family News is available online at AFN and on the
AFR program is now available on Alexa.
You're joking, right?
Nope, not joking.
Seriously?
Yep, this is not a drill.
Wait a minute. No way.
There's a way, the Alexa way. So if you just happen to miss your favorite